There are moments in life when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when plans unravel, when people disappoint, when the future looms uncertain and fierce. It is easy to feel powerless, to feel as though the tide of existence is too strong to resist. Yet, in those very moments, a hidden power stirs within you, silent but unyielding. It is not brute strength, nor blind optimism, nor a fleeting burst of emotion. It is an inner fortress, calm, deliberate, and unshakable. The Stoics called it the mastery of the self, and they understood that this mastery is what elevates a person beyond mere survival into true sovereignty over their life. Those who cultivated this mastery lived with a presence so commanding that no storm, no betrayal, no loss could ever topple them. Today, you embark on a profound journey to unlock that dormant power within you. This is not a journey of evading hardships or numbing emotions. It is the path of facing life exactly as it is, raw, unpredictable, and often indifferent, and standing victorious not through circumstance, but through character. The Stoics did not offer a doctrine of ease or an escape from pain. They offered a promise that true strength is found not in the absence of difficulty, but in your response to it. They taught that the trials of life are not hindrances to our development, but are the very tools that forge our greatest virtues. Every challenge, every obstacle, every loss refines the spirit if we meet them properly. This video will guide you chapter by chapter into the heart of Stoic wisdom. It will illuminate the ancient techniques and principles that allow ordinary individuals to cultivate extraordinary resilience. It will show you how to forge a mind that remains powerful against discouragement, unshaken against adversity, and unstoppable against all odds. The world will not grow kinder. Fortune will not favor you at every turn. But none of that matters, because the fortress you build within will carry you through every storm, lighting your path not with false hope, but with the steady flame of wisdom, strength, and unbreakable resolve. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Inner Power. When the Stoics spoke of power, they never spoke of controlling others or dominating circumstances. True power, they taught, begins with the mastery of oneself. It is the power to choose your response, to govern your impulses, to hold steady when the world tilts. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The first enemy, then, is not the world but our own untrained mind. If you seek to be powerful, begin by examining your judgments. Are you ruled by anger, envy, fear? Or do you command them as a rider commands his horse? Daily life provides the perfect training ground, an arena where every interaction, every unexpected obstacle, every minor irritation offers an opportunity to hone your inner strength. When your plans are delayed, the meeting runs over, traffic snarls your commute, technology fails. Do you lose your temper and let frustration rule you? Or do you breathe deeply and use the moment as a forge to temper patience? When someone insults you, slighting your pride or questioning your competence, do you retaliate impulsively, allowing anger to pull the strings of your character? Or do you remain sovereign over your emotions, choosing your response with deliberate calmness? Each small incident, each inconvenient moment is a precious lesson in mastery if you are willing to see it as such. Even the way you handle a misdelivered coffee or an abrupt text message is a battleground where the mastery of the self is either fortified or surrendered. Life does not pause to allow us to train in peace. It thrusts us into the arena without warning, without preparation, demanding that we learn through action, through adversity, through relentless exposure to the unpredictable tides of existence. It trains us while it unfolds, offering no gentle periods of respite where we can retreat and leisurely develop our strength. Every challenge we face, every missed opportunity, every difficult conversation, every unexpected hardship is part of that relentless training ground. And those who recognize this truth, those who understand that life itself is the perfect and necessary teacher, grow stronger with every passing day. They do not waste time wishing for easier circumstances or lamenting their misfortunes. Instead, they become sharper, tougher, more resilient, armed by their very hardships and empowered by the very difficulties that would undo the unprepared and the uncommitted. Through every trial, they are molded into individuals of unwavering fortitude, until what once seemed like insurmountable obstacles become mere stepping stones on their path to mastery. For one full week, choose one dominant impulse, whether it is impatience, anger, or fear, and dedicate yourself to observing it closely and consistently. Do not attempt to suppress or deny its presence, for denial only gives it greater power in the shadows. Instead, when this impulse arises, recognize it calmly, almost as if you are greeting an unexpected guest knocking at the door of your mind. Identify it without judgment, label it for what it is, and watch it with detached curiosity. Breathe deeply, anchor yourself in the present moment, and allow the impulse to crest and fall like a wave, without acting upon it, without letting it drive your behavior or disturb your peace. Record each encounter in a journal, noting the situations that triggered the impulse and how you responded. Reflect on the nature of its appearance. Was it triggered by fear of loss, by wounded pride, by the need for control? In understanding its patterns, you loosen its grip over your mind. Remember, true power is not found in grand, dramatic gestures or fleeting moments of courage that quickly burn out like shooting stars. It is not in the explosive triumphs that catch the eyes of the world and then fade into memory, but in the quiet, persistent, and often unseen battles fought deep within the soul over a lifetime. True strength is forged quietly, invisibly, through consistent, deliberate choices, through the steady accumulation of discipline, restraint, and clarity. It is found in the silent victories of the mind, in those moments when you consciously choose clarity over impulsive reaction, reason over uncontrolled passion, serenity over the tempest of chaos and confusion. Each time you resist being dragged by the violent tides of emotion, each time you pause and respond with wisdom, patience, and a calm heart rather than haste and fury, you drive another nail into the indestructible framework of your unshakable self. It is these small, often overlooked repeated acts of self-mastery, seemingly insignificant when seen in isolation, but monumental and transformative when woven together, that ultimately solidify into an unbreakable inner strength. Like layers of stone forming an impenetrable fortress, every act of mastery strengthens your foundation until you become immovable. No storm can topple you, no loss can hollow you, no insult can pierce you. The world may swirl and roar around you with all its unpredictability and ferocity, but inside you stand as a silent sentinel, calm, dignified, and invincible, anchored firmly by the countless small moments where you chose mastery over surrender, principle over impulse, resilience over despair. Chapter 2. Stand firm amid the storm. A gem cannot be polished without friction, Seneca wrote, nor a man perfected without trials. Life's hardships are not interruptions of our peace. They are the very instruments that shape, refine, and ultimately define it. The Stoics understood that it is not the absence of difficulty that creates a great soul, but the ability to remain resolute and composed within the storm. They did not seek to live lives devoid of trials, to escape the turbulence of human existence. Rather, they sought to become the kind of person who could stand steadfast in the eye of the storm, unbent, unbowed, unbroken. Every setback, every insult, every disappointment is a crucible, a forge designed not to destroy, but to strengthen. The world throws its chaos at you not out of malice or cruelty, but because such is the nature of existence, unpredictable, often harsh, yet also the perfect field for the cultivation of virtue. Your task, then, is not to curse your fate, not to whimper against the harshness of the world, but to seize each trial as an opportunity to sharpen your endurance, clarify your purpose, and reaffirm your strength. When someone lies about you, spreading rumors and tarnishing your name, your external reputation may suffer in the eyes of the ignorant, but your character, the true and eternal measure of your worth, remains firmly within your own hands to guard and uphold. The judgments of others, fickle and often misinformed, can never alter the truth of who you are unless you permit it. When you lose a job, when doors close unexpectedly and dreams are delayed, when opportunities vanish like mist before your eyes, your worldly status may temporarily diminish, but your work ethic, your discipline, your principles, your sense of honor, and your unwavering sense of purpose, if properly cultivated, will endure undiminished. These are the treasures that no thief can steal, no calamity can erase, no opinion can taint, and no stroke of misfortune can tarnish. They are your internal wealth, more secure than any material possession, more valuable than any external accolade. They are yours, inseparable from you, provided you choose to nurture them diligently and fiercely through every storm you encounter, through every trial that threatens to erode your resolve. When others falter because they have tied their worth to fragile external things, you will remain grounded, powerful, and luminous, anchored by virtues that no upheaval can dislodge and no darkness can extinguish. Each morning, rehearse the obstacles you might face that day: traffic, rude colleagues, technical failures. See them coming, accept them in advance. Then, when they arise, meet them as old, expected friends. Standing firm is not about stubborn denial of reality or blind resistance to the inevitable currents of life. It is about cultivating flexible strength, the kind of strength that bends gracefully without breaking, that endures pressure without surrendering its roots. It is like the tree that bends in the hurricane, yielding to the violent winds with supple resilience. And because it does not fight rigidly against the overwhelming force, it survives when more brittle trees are snapped and uprooted. Flexible strength means understanding when to stand your ground with unyielding principle and when to adapt with wisdom, preserving your core without clinging foolishly to the surface. It is the marriage of endurance and intelligence, of resolve and humility. True fortitude is not stubbornness. It is the living, breathing resilience that knows how to endure without hardening into fragility. Just as the oak that sways endures the storm while the rigid tower crumbles, so too must your spirit possess both firmness of purpose and fluidity of approach if you are to survive and thrive amid the inevitable tempests of existence. Chapter 3. The Discipline of Will. At the heart of Stoicism lies the discipline of will, the art of aligning your desires and aversions with reality itself. The world will not shape itself to your wishes. The wise soul shapes its wishes to the world. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The lesson is simple but harsh. You do not control other people. You do not control the economy, the weather, or the random turns of fortune. To anchor your happiness to these is to be endlessly tossed about. Instead, align your will to accept whatever comes with a spirit of unwavering readiness and resilient dignity, and to act honorably, virtuously, and deliberately within the ever-changing circumstances life presents. Understand that acceptance is not an act of passive resignation, nor is it a feeble surrender to fate, but rather an active, courageous embracing of reality as the sacred battleground upon which your character must be tested, refined, and ultimately made victorious. Train yourself each day to look upon every event, whether favorable, neutral, or adverse, as a necessary and irreplaceable part of your journey, as the raw material granted to you for the crafting of wisdom, patience, courage, and justice. See each occurrence not through the lens of preference or bias, but through the lens of opportunity for mastery. Choose to want what happens, to desire reality itself in all its unpredictability and harshness, not because it promises ease or comfort, but because it reliably delivers the conditions necessary for your growth, fortification, and transcendence. Cultivate a deep love for fate, an amor fati, where your soul finds profound beauty, order, and meaning not in imagined ideal outcomes, but in the very fabric of existence as it unravels before you, imperfect yet magnificent. At the end of each day, take time to sit in silent reflection and review with gentle but honest rigor one specific event that disturbed or unsettled you. Do not rush this examination. Identify the precise moment when your inner peace was shaken and explore it with patient, unflinching awareness. Ask yourself what expectations you harbored, what assumptions clouded your judgment, and what illusions you clung to that made the disturbance possible. Trace the roots of your agitation to their source. Then, thoughtfully and creatively, write down how you might have responded with more grace, wisdom, and inner stability, not with passive defeat or helplessness, but with active dignity, purposeful acceptance, and firm resolve. Visualize the strongest version of yourself, the wise soul, the unshaken mind, meeting that situation, and imprint that vision deeply upon your consciousness so that next time you are better prepared to live it. As you repeat this practice with earnest commitment night after night, you will gradually train your mind to meet disturbances with increasing calm, broader understanding, and a more profound emotional equilibrium. Each reflection becomes a stepping stone, each exercise a deliberate sharpening of your internal armor, a conscious act of transforming agitation into lucid clarity and weakness into formidable resilience. You are not merely reviewing your day, you are forging the architecture of an invincible soul. A disciplined will, forged through this nightly labor, transforms suffering into invincible strength, chaos into crystalline clarity, defeat into hard-won victory, and adversity into the sculptor of your unbreakable character. It is through this daily vigilant refinement that you forge a spirit capable of standing firm amid life's fiercest trials, unwavering in its purpose, untouchable by despair, and unstoppable in its ascent toward true greatness. Chapter 4. The Unshakable Mind. The mind is the seat of your freedom, the throne upon which true sovereignty rests. If it is weak, fragile, and untrained, everything can enslave you: opinions, insults, losses, even pleasures that masquerade as blessings. A weak mind is tossed about by every gust of external circumstance, held hostage by the judgments of others, crippled by fear, and seduced by comfort. Yet if it is strong, disciplined, and firmly rooted, nothing external, no matter how dire, seductive, or cruel, can command your peace or steal your dignity. The Stoics meticulously and tirelessly trained their minds not to depend on things beyond their control, recognizing the deep fragility that comes with anchoring one's peace to what is ever shifting and uncertain. Wealth, status, fame, approval, all these were classified as externals, viewed with indifference, seen as ultimately irrelevant to genuine happiness and authentic inner freedom. They understood with piercing clarity that anything bestowed by fortune could be just as easily snatched away, and thus was unworthy of being the foundation of the soul's stability. To tie your worth to fortune's gifts is to live at the mercy of fortune's whims. The wise man, therefore, redirects his gaze inward, focusing not on amassing these externals, but on fortifying the internal citadel of virtue. the one domain truly under his sovereign command. What truly matters, what endures beyond the collapse of fortunes, reputations, possessions, and even life itself, is virtue. The unwavering, uncompromising commitment to wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, the cardinal qualities that lie entirely within your sphere of control and stand immovable as the unshakable pillars of a serene, invincible life. Virtue is not dependent on the applause of crowds, the accumulation of riches, or the fleeting guarantees of worldly success. It is rooted deep within the soil of your own spirit, nurtured by discipline, reflection, and a steadfast dedication to living rightly according to reason and nature. The Stoic, with eyes sharpened by rigorous daily contemplation and with a heart fortified by unwavering self-awareness, sees loss not as personal harm, not as a theft of his essence, but simply as a natural and inevitable change, a shifting current in the endless river of existence over which he sails with skillful detachment and composed acceptance. He recognizes that loss is not a diminishment of self, but merely the unfolding of life's eternal cycle. He sees insult not as an injury to his dignity or as a stain upon his honor, but as meaningless noise, empty vibrations in the air, powerless and inert unless granted substance by his own misguided assent. Words spoken in ignorance or malice cannot wound the person who places their value on virtue rather than reputation. He sees death not as a terror, not as a punishment to be dreaded, but as a natural, harmonious conclusion to the earthly journey, a gentle, inevitable return to the same vast and eternal nature from which all life springs, flourishes, decays, and ultimately reunites. To strengthen your mind is to liberate your very essence, to cast off the invisible chains that bind so many to fear, anxiety, and dependence. It is to unchain your spirit from the ever-shifting circumstances of the external world, from the chaotic whims of fortune and the fickle, shallow judgments of the masses. This liberation is not a simple feat. It requires daily labor, deep reflection, and an unwavering commitment to personal sovereignty. It means no longer allowing the tides of fortune to dictate your moods, your values, or your sense of self-worth. It is to become unmoved by the capricious turns of fate, untouched by the petty insults of those who know no better, undefeated by personal loss, impervious to disappointment, and steadfast even in the face of crushing adversity. It is the art of becoming a true master of yourself in every situation, a sovereign ruler within your own kingdom of thought and will, reigning with wisdom, clarity, and courage. Your mind becomes your fortress, your principles its foundation, and your resilience its ramparts. True freedom is not found in the vain and impossible task of controlling the external world, in bending events and people to your will. That is the path to endless frustration and weakness. Instead, true freedom is rooted in the steadfast and courageous mastery of the internal world, your perceptions, your choices, your actions. Only there, within the sacred dominion of your own soul, can true and lasting peace be found. And from that sacred mastery, that self-commanded citadel, built stone by stone through conscious choice and disciplined thought, arises a life of unbreakable peace, an unwavering sense of joy rooted not in transient circumstance, but in eternal virtue. From this foundation springs an unstoppable force, a spirit so firmly anchored in its own moral clarity that it moves through the world with silent, invincible grace, unshaken by loss, unmoved by praise, undefeated by hardship, and ever luminous in its unwavering pursuit of the good. Begin a habit of mental rehearsal known as premeditatio malorum. Each evening, imagine the loss of your possessions, your status, even your health, not to become grim, but to inoculate your mind against future fear. When you expect nothing as permanent, you hold everything with gratitude and without fear. The unshakable mind is not emotionless. It is simply free. Chapter 5. Becoming unstoppable. To be unstoppable does not mean never falling, never faltering, or never experiencing moments of doubt. It means rising every single time, without exception, with greater wisdom, deeper understanding, and more fortified resilience. It means transforming each stumble, each defeat, into a stepping stone for higher growth and a more impenetrable spirit. The Stoics revered endurance, not the passive endurance of mere suffering or grim resignation, but the active, courageous endurance of rising again with renewed purpose and clarity. They understood that hardship and failure are not signs of weakness, but invitations to cultivate true strength. You are unstoppable not because you will always succeed on the first attempt, not because life will conform to your plans, but because you will never, under any circumstance, surrender your will to strive, to adapt, to persist with dignity and determination. Musonius Rufus, the revered teacher of Epictetus, emphasized this profound truth when he said, "If you want something good, get it from yourself." Strength, virtue, perseverance, these are not bestowed by chance or granted by others. They are mined from within, forged by your own effort, your own choices, your own relentless pursuit of excellence, regardless of the obstacles in your path. External rewards are uncertain. Approval fades like mist in the morning sun. Fortunes reverse with the turning of the wheel. Positions of honor and comfort are fleeting. But the habit of effort, the conscious, disciplined practice of choosing purposeful action, even in the presence of fear, fatigue, discouragement, and seemingly insurmountable difficulty, builds an unstoppable momentum that no external force can halt, no matter how fierce or persistent. Each decision to act, however small or seemingly insignificant, each refusal to capitulate when surrender seems not only easier but tempting, becomes a sacred brick laid in the construction of your inner fortress. Each act of courage, each small commitment to persevere against the pull of comfort or despair, layers strength upon strength, forming an ever-thickening armor of resilience, grit, and enduring spirit. Over time, this consistent practice of disciplined action becomes a force that reshapes your very being, transforming you from someone who merely survives the currents of life into someone who commands their own destiny. You evolve into a force of nature, steady as a mountain, unstoppable as a river carving through stone, triumphant over every adversity you encounter. Not because adversity ceases, but because you have outgrown the power it once held over you. Choose one pursuit, whether it be mastering a skill, advancing a personal goal, or nurturing a habit, and commit unwaveringly to one deliberate act of progress every single day for an entire month. It does not matter how modest the action may seem, nor how unmotivated or weary you feel. What matters is the consistency, the act of showing up to your path without fail. Whether the step is grand or almost imperceptibly small, let it be a victory claimed over inertia, a silent affirmation of your unstoppable spirit in motion. Each step, no matter how small, lays another stone on the road toward mastery and resilience. Each action taken, no matter how humble or unseen by others, strengthens your grip on your purpose, making you heavier in resolve, more deeply rooted in determination, and lighter in fear, hesitation, and self-doubt. Each step fortifies your inner architecture, making you sturdier against the unpredictable winds of uncertainty, doubt, and distraction. You become less vulnerable to the fleeting moods and the uncontrollable chaos of the world outside, because your stability is built stone by stone within yourself. Each act of persistence, each deliberate choice to press forward when it would be easier to fall back into comfort, each refusal to yield to the siren calls of laziness, procrastination, or discouragement, weaves another indispensable layer of resilience into the very fabric of your character. With every refusal to quit, your inner fortitude thickens, becoming like tempered steel forged by fire and relentless hammering. Every small victory over comfort and inertia sharpens your will to a finer edge, toughens your spirit against the inevitable hardships, and solidifies your identity as one who cannot be shaken, rattled, or derailed by external turbulence. You become a more formidable force, more unstoppable than yesterday, sturdier and more immovable than the day before, increasingly impervious to the myriad distractions and subtle discouragements that sideline the untrained and the undisciplined. Over time, as these acts of persistence quietly and steadily accumulate, momentum ceases to be a fleeting state occasionally grasped and becomes your unwavering, loyal companion. It becomes an invisible current, carrying you forward with an almost effortless power, fueled by your own unyielding dedication. Excellence, once a distant aspiration seen only through the misty eyes of ambition, gradually transforms into your very nature, a constant burning quality that defines your existence and elevates everything you touch. It shines quietly but unmistakably in your actions, your choices, your demeanor, and your perseverance, marking you as someone who cannot be stopped, someone who has become a living testament to the power of disciplined persistence and indomitable will. Chapter 6: The Fire of Purpose. The unstoppable individual is not simply reactive. They are driven by a fire that burns from within, a fire called purpose. Without a purpose, even the strongest resolve will flicker and fade in the face of hardship. But with a clear and noble purpose, a person becomes as relentless as the sun, rising day after day regardless of storms, darkness, or resistance. The Stoics believed that living in accordance with one's true nature, reason and virtue, was the highest and most enduring purpose a human being could pursue. It was not fame, nor riches, nor conquest that they sought, for they recognized how fragile and fleeting such external rewards truly are. Their aim was far greater: to embody wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance fully, consciously, and unwaveringly in every thought, word, and action. True fulfillment was not found in the applause of the crowd or the accumulation of possessions, but in the steady, quiet discipline of living rightly, according to the highest faculties of the human soul. Purpose, then, gives suffering its meaning. It transforms what could have been obstacles into rites of passage, and every hardship into a trial by which strength, patience, and character are tempered. To cultivate an unstoppable mind, you must define your purpose clearly and anchor it deeply within yourself. It cannot be vague or shallow. It must be a living, breathing force that illuminates your decisions and strengthens your will in times of uncertainty. Ask yourself with complete honesty, why do you rise each morning? What principle burns brightly enough to guide you when temptation whispers and adversity howls? What ideal, what vision of the better self you seek to become has the gravity to pull you forward when your heart grows weary and your path becomes steep? As a practical exercise, write a personal mission statement, one clear, powerful sentence that captures the essence of your highest ideal, the unwavering standard you aspire to embody each day. Let it be simple but profound, brief yet deeply resonant, something that speaks directly to the core of your being. Then, each morning, before the noise of the world begins to clamor for your attention and the day's endless demands crowd your mind, take a few sacred moments to read it aloud to yourself. Do not simply glance at the words, internalize them. Feel their truth vibrate within your chest. Let them reawaken your determination and imprint their wisdom upon your soul. Let this act of deliberate remembrance be the first conscious seed you plant in the fertile soil of your mind, before the distractions and trials of the day take root. Purpose is the steady, enduring and unwavering light that guides the unstoppable through darkness and chaos alike. It is the beacon that pierces through confusion, doubt and adversity, illuminating a straight path when every other road seems lost in mist. Without purpose, you are like a ship without a compass, adrift and vulnerable, a leaf tossed helplessly by every shifting tide, every gust of fortune and every turn of fate. But with purpose clearly fixed and immovably anchored within you, no storm can drive you off course, no hardship can dissuade you, and no failure can break your spirit. You move forward not because conditions are favorable, nor because fortune smiles upon you, but because your spirit is lit by a fire that does not depend on external circumstances to sustain it, a fire that burns steadily, fiercely, and eternally from within. Chapter 7. Courage over comfort. Comfort is a subtle and persuasive enemy. It whispers sweet promises of safety, ease, and tranquility, convincing you that the path of least resistance is the path to happiness. Yet, what comfort demands in return is the steepest price you can pay: your growth, your greatness, and your strength. The Stoics understood with piercing clarity that true happiness does not arise from indulgence or avoiding hardship. It is forged in the fires of challenge, sharpened against the grindstone of adversity, and revealed only to those willing to suffer nobly for their own betterment. Courage is the antidote to the seductive voice of comfort. Courage to speak when silence feels safer. Courage to endure when quitting seems easier. Courage to act rightly even when doing so costs you dearly in approval, convenience, or even personal security. Each courageous act is a deliberate step into discomfort, a bold declaration that you value your future potential more than your present ease. Courage is not merely the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else, something greater, is more important than fear. It is an affirmation of life lived fully, not half-heartedly. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." His words cut sharply to the heart of human hesitation and reveal a profound truth. Difficulty does not diminish because the world grows kinder or more forgiving. It shrinks because you grow stronger, because you dare to step forward, face it, challenge it, and ultimately transcend it. Obstacles that once loomed impossibly large yield when they are met by a spirit fortified by discipline, determination, and the willingness to suffer nobly for a higher cause. What once seemed insurmountable falls before the steady blows of repeated courageous action, proof that boldness breeds capacity. Every day make a conscious, deliberate choice to lean into one thing, no matter how small, daunting, or seemingly insignificant, that discomforts you. Whether it is initiating a difficult conversation you have been avoiding, completing an intimidating task that fills you with self-doubt, or confronting a fear that has lurked in your mind unchallenged for too long, step forward with open arms. Build the daily, habitual practice of choosing courage, of training yourself to move into discomfort with purpose rather than retreating into the illusory safety of avoidance. Over time, the small acts of bravery accumulate, forging a character that meets fear, not with trembling, but with a steady, unbreakable gaze. Comfort seeks to lull you into complacency, to erode your ambition quietly, to silence your inner call to greatness by offering short-term ease at the expense of long-term fulfillment. It is an invisible enemy, soft in its touch, but devastating in its consequences. Courage, on the other hand, demands that you awaken, that you rouse yourself to your fullest life, a life not characterized by avoidance or mediocrity, but by meaning, resilience, excellence, and the relentless pursuit of your highest and noblest potential. To choose courage daily is to choose the path of self-transcendence, the path of becoming truly powerful, unshaken, and unstoppable. Chapter 8. Mastering Emotional Resilience. Emotions are powerful forces, potent and primal, capable of inspiring acts of greatness or dragging us into depths of despair. Without mastery, however, they can become tyrants, unseen rulers that govern your decisions, distort your perceptions, and erode your peace of mind. Anger, fear, jealousy, sorrow. They are natural, they are human, but the Stoics taught with unwavering certainty that allowing these forces to reign unchecked is to surrender your sovereignty, to forfeit your birthright as a rational being, capable of choosing virtue over impulse. Emotional resilience is not the eradication of feeling. It is not a cold, numb existence devoid of joy or sorrow. Rather, it is the disciplined, conscious refusal to be enslaved by feeling. It is the skillful ability to experience emotions fully, to honor their presence without granting them dominion over reason. Marcus Aurelius, in his timeless meditations, often reminded himself that anger is simply a failure to see things clearly, a distortion rooted in misunderstanding, an overreaction born from false perception. Likewise, fear is not a faithful mirror of external reality, but a projection, a conjuration of the mind's own misapprehensions, fantasies, and runaway imaginations. By recognizing the illusory and exaggerated nature of unchecked emotions, the Stoic trains himself to remain unmoved by their initial assault, choosing instead to respond with wisdom, patience, and deliberate thought. When your mind is properly trained, disciplined to stand apart from its immediate reactions, you create a sacred space between stimulus and response, a sanctuary of clarity where deliberate choice can flourish. In that space, you observe emotions not as chains that bind you, but as clouds passing across the vast and open sky of consciousness, transient and insubstantial. You begin to cultivate a deeper, more unshakable calm, a calm that is not brittle or fragile, but expansive, resilient, and profoundly alive. This calm becomes a living, breathing strength, a serene vigilance, a sovereign stillness that no insult, no failure, no betrayal can penetrate or erode. It is the unassailable fortress of a mind that has learned to acknowledge emotion without surrendering its throne, a mind that honors feeling without becoming its captive. Practice the view from above as a daily discipline and a sacred ritual. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, burdened by life's relentless pressures, imagine yourself rising higher and higher above your immediate circumstances, beyond the confines of daily worries and temporary setbacks. Envision yourself looking down upon your life, your struggles, your fears, from a vast, detached perspective, as if you were an observer seeing the grand, intricate design of existence. From that elevated vantage point, what once seemed urgent and terrible shrinks to its true scale, small, temporary, fleeting, powerless unless you, through misjudgment, allow it dominion over your mind. Through this elevated vision, you restore proportion, you reclaim inner peace, and you reassert mastery over your own soul. True resilience is not the absence of emotional storms, nor is it the suppression of feeling. It is the courageous ability to stand firmly and gracefully in their midst, to feel fully, deeply, and profoundly, and yet still choose wisely, still act nobly, still move forward with clarity, courage, and an unbreakable dignity that no external tempest can ever destroy. Chapter 9. Practicing Voluntary Discomfort. One of the most radical and transformative Stoic practices was the intentional courting of discomfort. They believed with unwavering conviction that by regularly denying themselves unnecessary pleasures and voluntarily embracing hardships, They would cultivate the resilience necessary to endure whatever fortune brought without complaint or collapse. It was not mere asceticism they sought, nor a rejection of pleasure for its own sake, but an active training of the spirit, a conscious preparation for the unpredictable nature of life, a daily forging of inner strength that no external circumstance could erode. Seneca, one of the most profound Stoic voices, practiced voluntary discomfort deliberately and systematically and reflected upon the experience, often asking himself, "Is this what I feared?" By confronting discomfort voluntarily, by stripping life down to its essentials by choice, he robbed misfortune of its sting. He proved, not through theory but through lived experience, that he could withstand hardship without the collapse of his spirit. True strength, he demonstrated, lies not in insulation from difficulty, but in indifference to it. Modern life, for all its marvels, shields us from many of the hardships our ancestors faced daily. In the name of convenience, comfort, and technological ease, we have padded ourselves against friction, and in doing so, risk becoming soft, brittle, and weak in spirit. To build an unstoppable spirit today, you must seek out difficulty intentionally. You must volunteer yourself for discomfort, not because suffering is noble in itself, but because mastery of hardship is the true gateway to freedom and fortitude. Once a week, choose a voluntary discomfort and embrace it fully. Take a cold shower and feel your body resist before commanding it forward. Fast for half a day and confront the gnawing voice of hunger without complaint. Commit to a challenging exercise session and move beyond what you thought possible. Abstain from technology and entertainment to sit alone with your thoughts. Do these things not as punishments, but as proud rituals of growth. Approach them with a spirit of deep gratitude, recognizing that each self-imposed trial is a priceless opportunity to refine the instrument of your will and to forge an even more resilient and unyielding soul. View every moment of chosen discomfort not as an ordeal to be dreaded, but as a sacred training ground where your character is sharpened like a blade against the whetstone of adversity. Each voluntary hardship you undertake polishes the core of your being, strengthening your resolve and preparing you for the greater battles that life will inevitably hurl your way. Voluntary hardship, when practiced consistently and consciously with full awareness and acceptance, becomes a transformative force that dissolves fear and replaces it with unwavering confidence. It reshapes your entire relationship with adversity, teaching you that hardship is not your enemy, but your greatest teacher and ally. Through repeated, willing encounters with discomfort, you gradually unearth a hidden reservoir of strength within yourself, a strength that would have remained dormant had you always sought the path of least resistance. This deliberate exposure to challenge builds not only toughness, but a serene trust in your ability to withstand, to adapt, and to overcome. When the inevitable storms of life come, as they always will, sudden and unforgiving, while others falter, wither, and collapse under the crushing weight of unforeseen difficulties, you will stand firm and unyielding. You will remain rooted deeply in the hard-won knowledge that you have already faced worse, willingly, consciously, and courageously. You will know with unshakable certainty that the trials you have embraced prepared you for this very moment. You will recognize that the moments of voluntary discomfort, the deliberate acts of hardship you chose to endure, have forged a spirit within you that no storm can break, no hardship can overwhelm. You will not merely survive the chaos, you will move through it with a fierce and luminous strength that astonishes those around you. You will emerge from adversity not merely unbroken, but transformed, stronger, fiercer, wiser, and more resilient than before. Every gust of misfortune will only tighten your grip on virtue, and every crashing wave of circumstance will polish you brighter and harder, like a diamond formed under pressure. In choosing discomfort today, In willingly placing yourself in the fire, you prepare yourself to meet the chaos of tomorrow with an unshakable composure, an unstoppable force, and a radiant spirit that grows stronger with every battle faced, every hardship conquered, and every dawn survived. Chapter 10. The Power of Self-Renewal. Every day is a new opportunity to begin again, a fresh canvas upon which to paint your intentions, your values, and your highest aspirations. The Stoics taught that no failure is final unless you choose to remain fallen. They recognized that life's true tragedy is not in the act of stumbling, but in the refusal to rise again, wiser and stronger than before. Renewal is not merely a concept, it is the secret strength of the unstoppable, the inner flame that is reignited with every dawn, undeterred by the defeats of yesterday. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." His words are a sacred reminder that each new day is a gift, an invitation to participate in the miracle of existence with full consciousness and gratitude. To awaken with this perspective is to shield yourself from despair and to armor yourself with hope. You are not the mistakes, regrets, or disappointments of yesterday. You are not defined by past failures, missteps, missed opportunities, or the moments when fear overruled your better judgment. You are, at every single moment, the living sum of the choices you make today, and the future you are still shaping with every thought, every decision, every breath you take. Each moment is a fresh opportunity, a decisive and sacred chance to reaffirm your values, to recommit to your highest ideals, and to walk one more determined, courageous step along the never-ending path of mastery and virtue. Growth is not a straight, smooth highway. It is a rugged, winding journey marked by rises and falls, by triumphs and setbacks, by falls that seem devastating, but which each carry within them the chance, the profound gift, to rise again, stronger and wiser than ever before. Begin every morning with a sacred ritual of renewal, a conscious act of devotion to the best within you. Take a few precious moments in silence before the noise of the world can seep in, to center yourself in stillness. Reconnect with the mission you have chosen for your life, the grand, noble vision of who you are becoming. Renew your commitment to live with excellence, integrity, wisdom, and unshakable resolve. Visualize the day ahead as a proving ground for your principles, a field where your spirit will be tested and forged anew. Affirm your inner strength, call forth your courage, and prepare your heart to meet every challenge, not with fear or resentment, but with fierce enthusiasm, gratitude, and dignity. This daily ritual is not a mere habit to be ticked off a list. It is a spiritual awakening, a deliberate act of forging your indomitable spirit anew with conscious, burning intention. The Stoic life is not about never falling, never failing, or never feeling the sting of defeat. It is not about living a life shielded from pain, hardships, losses, or the inevitable setbacks that carve their marks into every human existence. To walk the Stoic path is not to pursue a sterile or untouched life, but to embrace the reality that life's storms are not obstacles to greatness, they are its very foundation. The Stoic life is about rising endlessly, more powerful, more tempered by experience, more unshaken by adversity, and more unstoppable with each new dawn that graces your journey. It is about transforming every fall not into a mark of shame, but into a launch pad for new growth, greater wisdom, and deeper strength. It is about learning to see every setback not as a judgment on your worth, but as essential fuel for your inner fire, fuel that, when ignited by discipline and purpose, propels you toward the loftiest heights of virtue. Every hardship becomes, through the Stoic lens, not a pit into which you fall forever, but a stepping stone placed deliberately before you, designed to test your will and shape the most heroic version of yourself that could ever exist. To live the Stoic way is to embrace the undeniable truth that resilience is the highest and noblest form of strength, not brute force, not hollow success, but the quiet, immovable resolve to persevere and to rise, no matter how many times the world strikes you down. Resilience is the gold that remains when everything else has been burned away. It is the enduring proof that your spirit, once tempered by the fires of discipline and conviction, shines brighter and stronger than any temporary misfortune could ever hope to diminish. The Stoic life demands that you recognize this invincibility within yourself. It calls you to embrace the storms, to welcome the tests, to turn every blow into a blessing, every fall into a forward step. It requires you to acknowledge that the soul, once fiercely and irrevocably committed to wisdom, virtue and growth, cannot and will not be defeated. Not by betrayal, not by poverty, not by ridicule, not even by death itself. For such a soul carries within it the flame of something eternal, something that no force of fate can ever extinguish.